Where do you call home?
Omaha, Nebraska.
Have you ever met Warren Buffett in person?
Yes, our office is in the same building, so I get to ride the elevator with him every once in a while.
Wonderful. I really admire him.
The thing that's most incredible for me when I ride the elevator with him, all I do is say hi. Watching him come in every single day at 95 years old, like clockwork, and his routine is incredible to watch. It makes sense why he's the way he ultimately is. He doesn't miss.
And he's a very lucky man because he found something he is passionate about all his life. I want to find something to do like him.
Read every shareholder letter from 1965 to 2014. So he's a big influence. Same with Charlie Munger as well, both from Omaha.
Welcome to another compelling episode of World Ledger with Coco Key. This is your gateway to fresh global perspectives and insightful discussions. Whether you're a curious mind, a global citizen, or a lifelong learner, you're in the right place to discover how blockchain innovation is shaping the world beyond your borders. Everything on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It represents personal views and opinions and does not constitute investment or financial advice or recommendation.
Kyle Todd, co-founder and CEO of Pinata, great to have you on. I would love to learn more about you, your background, and how the idea of Pinata came about, besides your admiration and followings of Warren Buffett.
Yeah, absolutely. I always wanted to start my own company. It started back when I was a kid. I told my mom I wanted to be a car mechanic. She didn't say, hey, no, you should be an astronaut or a doctor or something like that. What she said was, it's okay if you want to be a car mechanic, just make sure that you own the mechanic shop. That has always stuck with me since I was like 5 or 8, whenever that happened. I always wanted to start my own company. Out of college, I worked at a tech startup, a small one. I was the first employee to see what it took to raise money, get customers, and build a dev team and all that kind of stuff, and just learned a lot. And then at the same time, crypto was becoming a thing. I got interested in Bitcoin in 2015. I was really interested in blockchain, crypto, learned about Ethereum and smart contracts, and was blown away by the potential in 2016. From that point, I had it in my mind, I'm going to quit my job and jump into this space full time. I didn't want to be like a trader. I'm not a trader by any means, but I knew I wanted to build a company in crypto. In 2017, I quit my job and jumped into it full time. Had no plan, so I didn't know what type of company I wanted to build. I just thought, if I'm going to quit my job, I want to spend time and discover the space and learn it at a deeper level. And then through that experience, I think I'll find ultimately whatever it was I was looking for. I'm non-technical by background, so because crypto was so technical and still is pretty technical, I went to hackathons. So I just started flying around to different hackathons in the United States. Me being the business guy, all I really did was make some nice PowerPoint pitch decks for people. But I got to sit in rooms with the smart contract engineers and blockchain developers, learn a lot about the technology. Simultaneously, I was living in Omaha and needed friends. I had online friends. I had friends that I had when I went to hackathons, but I wanted people closer to me that were interested in blockchain and crypto. So what I did was start a blockchain meetup group in town that grew to 500 people in 2017. One of the first people to reach out to me ultimately became my co-founder and CTO, Matt Ober. Through that experience of going to these hackathons and the meetup group, Matt and I ended up starting a consulting business where we were building smart contracts. That is ultimately how we ended up finding the problem that Pinata solves, which is storing data and files on chain is exponentially expensive. If you store a gigabyte, back then it was something like $3 or $4 million per gigabyte. Nobody wants to do that. People were using this protocol called IPFS, or the Planetary File System. It wasn't very fast, wasn't very stable. And so we had this simple idea of let's make it fast and stable for blockchain developers to store files related to their tokens or their blockchain applications. Ultimately launched that in 2018 and have been doing it ever since.
Oh, what a journey. You are very entrepreneurial. I fell down the rabbit hole around 2016. When it comes to data storage, two things immediately came in my mind. One is the centralized storage cloud. The other is those decentralized storage places, for example, Filecoin, even cross-network. Could you walk me through the differences between your company and those centralized and decentralized storage?
Absolutely. The way that we look at things is less from a centralized and decentralized perspective, though we are built on a decentralized protocol in IPFS. The way we have framed what we do is we are crypto file storage, and what we're focused on is ensuring that files are being moved and managed based on the token, the wallet, or the blockchain in some way. That does not necessarily mean it's maximally decentralized, but we are building file storage in a way that is native to crypto and blockchain. What decentralized file storage is optimizing for splitting up the files and then throwing them out on a network. Whether it's censorship resistance or other reasons, decentralized file storage is not necessarily optimized for actually serving files. One other component we focus on is location where your file is stored matters when you want to retrieve it quickly. The way that most decentralized file storage systems are built, a chunk of your file could be thousands of miles away, and that makes it kind of slow. That doesn't work for high-speed trading and people wanting to view NFTs or whatever the use case is in crypto. A decentralized file storage isn't quite as good. You have that crypto versus decentralized file storage. We're built on top of the decentralized file storage protocol, but have advantages similar to centralized file storage built in a crypto native way. I think that's the biggest difference between us and something like Filecoin or Arweave or other blockchains. The other one is we don't actually have a blockchain underneath us. The protocol IPFS doesn't require one. What that enables us to do is we can work for any blockchain and leverage their consensus mechanisms. It just makes us as centralized or decentralized as you want, and we can leverage your blockchain of choice, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, Solana, or any of the other ones out there. Every single blockchain that exists has used us in some way. It gives us a lot more flexibility, and we're less opinionated about how your files should be stored, but we're more opinionated about how to ensure that they're being managed appropriately related to tokens, wallets, or the blockchain itself.
Pinata focuses on crypto token. Are your nodes sitting on the centralized cloud?
The way that we operate is we run IPFS nodes, and we have a bunch of them that sit out there. We run them on traditional cloud infrastructure. This is where we might start getting pushback of like, oh, that's not actually decentralized. What we care about and what's interesting about IPFS is that when you store data on IPFS, you get what's called a content identifier or CID. And that is unique to every single file that is stored on the network. And what that enables is you don't have to trust the infrastructure provider themselves. You can just trust that CID. So when you pull a file from Filecoin or from IPFS, what happens is it's pulled on that CID and you're only going to get that file back. If the file changed at all in transit, the CID would change and you wouldn't get the same file, and you'd know, hey, this could be malicious, this could be bad. You don't actually have to trust Pinata or any of the other infrastructure providers in the space. You can just trust the data itself. We think that perspective is really, really valuable. It also unlocks the ability to store data anywhere you want on any server, any device. So IPFS can run on your phone, and you can leverage this network in some really interesting ways, whether it's on centralized infrastructure or decentralized infrastructure, it actually doesn't matter. And it gives a lot of flexibility in how you're building these applications. If you want to be as decentralized as you want, IPFS provides that. If you want to be very centralized, you can also do that with IPFS. It's just a very flexible protocol.
Basically, you manage the IPFS data file off-chain, trying to address the challenges of costly on-chain data storage and slow data accessibility.
Yeah, the big thing is the stated preference is people say, hey, I want decentralized file storage. And then the revealed preference is I want my files fast and I don't want to pay a lot of money for it. There's always kind of a sliding scale. It's not 0 to 1 or black or white. It's a very gray area that we operate in, and figuring out what is the optimal amount of decentralization that we need for our customers and what do they actually want. If it's something like a meme coin or an NFT, when you're looking at that image, if there's just a split second of load time related to viewing the image or video, people are going to get upset. At the end of the day, Web3 and crypto still has to be able to compete against Web2 speeds. That's really where we focus a lot of our time, ensuring that these files are decentralized enough, fast, and the appropriate cost.
And the beauty of IPFS is it offers the CID that allows the data to be stored no matter where. It is traceable. Can you give a very brief explanation in layman's term about IPFS? Some audience may not be aware or know it very well.
Yeah, absolutely. So IPFS is a peer-to-peer protocol. What a lot of people think about is something like BitTorrent, but what we focus on is that content identifier, that CID component. The way to think about it is, if you as a person were named the way traditional file storage is named, your location would be affecting what your name actually is. As you move locations, your name would change. So I would be Kyle Omaha, and if I flew to New York, I would be Kyle New York City. And that's how the naming convention works. Whereas my name is Kyle Tut, no matter where I am, that's how IPFS works. That file is unique to me, just as unique as I am as a human. It makes a lot of intuitive sense for people that are not technical. Technical people aren't as familiar with content addressable data like this, where it's named and that name is unique. And if it changes at all, the name ultimately changes. It's a really powerful system that matches really, really well with blockchain, because blockchain at the end of the day is this global decentralized system that needs to get files from anywhere, and it needs to be able to trust that those files are real. Those files are fake or fraudulent in any way. You're introducing attack vectors into smart contracts and automated trading, and IPFS solves that. So that's the real cool kind of thing it does, and the paradigm shift it has. But it's still relatively new. Like I said, it's a paradigm shift in how files are actually managed. Previously, computing has never needed this. It wasn't as big of a deal, but because we are moving to this global decentralized system relying on cryptography and blockchain, this type of file storage is now very relevant.
Creators or developers would say, can I just upload my data or file in the IPFS system without going through Pinata? Is it because they need their content and data to be accessible anytime by other parties? Because if they turn off their computer, even the data is sitting in IPFS protocol, people cannot access that. Is that the reason?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always online. We're always up. We spend a lot of time ensuring that we're reliable. If you put files on us, you can access them. You can use IPFS without us. You can run it on your phone. You can run an IPFS node on your desktop. The difference there is, let's say you built an application relying on your desktop, and 1 million people are trying to access that file because it was a popular meme coin you created. Your computer probably can't handle that. And if you do shut it, it turns off and it's not accessible on the internet. So what people do is we're technically called a pinning service. They use a pinning service like Pinata to ensure that it's always online. We have a bunch of infrastructure behind us that makes us much faster than something like your desktop. As I mentioned earlier, you can actually pair those two things together. You can have a node sitting on your desktop, a node sitting on your cloud provider, and you can use Pinata, and they'll all work together to serve files and ensure that your data is available and people can access it. So from that perspective, it's a very flexible way to manage files. And we think it's incredible. An NFT creator or a meme coin builder can basically have it all in that way.
I really like it because you think out of the box. Web3 company doesn't need to just always use the blockchain and put everything on chain. You can provide off-chain services. I really like this idea.
At the end of the day, they are referencing that CID on chain. So that's basically how it works. It's Let's say you're going to create a token and it needs to store some files. You upload it to Pinata or IPFS and get that CID and print it on chain. That CID is the thing that everybody references to grab that file. There's a tiny amount of data stored on chain and referenced on chain, and the rest of it's stored on IPFS. You can verify that it's supposed to be. So it's giving you the best of both worlds. You're keeping the cryptography of the blockchain and leveraging different cryptography for the files themselves. It makes it auditable, provable, authentic, verified without actually needing to store data on chain.
It makes a lot of sense. Can you share some details about your partnership with OpenSea and Pump.Fun? For example, what unique functionalities and benefits you provide to these two marketplaces and what particular challenges you help them solve?
Yeah, absolutely. For both companies, the way we serve them is very similar. They're focused on ensuring they can serve content and media at scale to their end users. So when you have hundreds of thousands or millions of people looking at NFTs or buying meme coins, you need to serve that content to all of them. That's what we focus on a lot. And in that way, we're a media company where we're serving content to these end users. And so when you go and look at an NFT on OpenSea or you go look at a meme coin on Pump.Fun, there's a high likelihood that you're going to be interacting with Pinata and viewing the content through our systems. On the NFT side, it's a little bit more unique because the NFT ecosystem, you don't know where that content is coming from in the sense that OpenSea is going to access the NFT file from the NFT creator themselves. That could be from a bunch of different platforms, or they could have built it themselves and OpenSea needs to access it. So we help them in that way. And then with Pump.Fun and other meme coins, when they're minting the meme coin itself, they're minting it through and using Pinata for the files they're attaching. The big note is just scale and ensuring that millions of people can ultimately look at these meme coins and these NFTs and ensuring that it's fast. Because again, if you have 1990s dial-up speed trying to view this content, people would be pretty frustrated and the experience isn't good enough. We help solve that.
So you post the data, for example, metadata, and serve the data to all the buyers or who are browsing marketplaces. Are these metadata first created on IPFS? Is it required or not?
It's not required. In the token metadata space, there's AWS S3, which is a very centralized, traditional Web2 way of doing things. And ultimately, the majority of the space still uses that. People that use IPFS or other decentralized storage protocols are still somewhat in the minority. The reason for that traditionally has been because they didn't have the speed and couldn't meet the requirements. That's been changing over time. They upload their metadata to us first. So before it's on chain, it's on Pinata, or before it's a token, it's on Pinata. They'll upload the content to us first and attach it to the token they are minting on chain. I mentioned with NFTs and meme coins, we're managing the media, that type of file, the images, the videos, the songs, whatever the file type is. But we are also managing the metadata that is unique information about the token that as an end consumer of a meme coin or an NFT, you don't really care about. But behind the scenes, there's indexers and high frequency traders and all sorts of people that are interacting with that data, trying to make a decision on whether they should be buying it or they're trying to automate buying. All sorts of intricate financial things are also happening behind the scenes that ultimately leverage the data that is stored on us.
What is the fee structure when partnering with the two companies? Is it like a SaaS model?
Yep. Yeah, we have a very traditional SaaS model, and we've found the space that really loves that. We are a crypto company at the end of the day. We accept crypto and regular SaaS model. It's based on usage. If terabytes or petabytes of data are moving through us, you're going to be charged for all of that usage. The big drivers are data storage. How much data are you actually storing on us? And then from a bandwidth perspective, how much are you actually consuming through the platform?
If the users are not large companies like Pump.Fun or OpenSea, what type of payment or fee structure do you apply to them? Is it by subscription or pay as you go?
Yep, absolutely. So we have a free tier, so anybody can come in and start building. Some of our best success stories are actually companies that started as, one person that grew into two big companies. And then from there, we have paid plans starting at $20 a month and $100 a month, just depending on how much usage you ultimately have. It's very easy. We've had a lot of examples of small teams, 1 to 3 people, that start on that free plan and then grow into a large enterprise customer for us. And that's ultimately what we want to see, is people having success, and we can help them and have a low cost plan for them while still being able to help them scale all the way. From a developer's perspective, they don't have to hire other engineers to support file management. We make that super easy and abstract away the complexities.
Yeah, that's very smart. How about the payment method? A lot of developers and companies are outside of US. They may not be able to pay in dollars. What is your thought about that?
Yeah, so we do accept USDC. They could swap into USDC and pay us through that route. Currently, about 10% of our payment is through USDC. We work with partners to manage subscriptions. Subscriptions on chain are still difficult, but we're able to do subscription buying for these users, so they have the ability to swap into it.
Both NFTs and meme coin have had their ups and downs, especially meme coins, which some people see as useless or just gambling. And NFTs has a big, steep downturn. Is someone providing services to these projects? What is your take on the future of NFTs and meme coins?
Yeah, so I think ultimately they're leading somewhere. Both NFTs and meme coins are enabling the transaction of files and data in a globally distributed way. That's what we get most excited about. Let's say that NFT isn't just a picture. It could represent an app. It could represent a massive data set. It could represent, whatever file you could imagine. We attach it to that NFT, and that's how we ultimately transact that data. Where that becomes important is as we get into this AI world where 2 AI agents are coming in and trying to transact with each other. The way they're going to do it is through crypto, and they're going to rely on things like NFTs to have provable transfers between each other of exchanging data. So, let's say an AI agent comes in and says, hey, I want to buy something. To do it, they're going to have to trade data between each other, negotiate, and ultimately have the settlement of the payment and the exchange of whatever the data set is that they were buying. The way they're going to do that is through NFTs or meme coins, whether it's an NFT type token or a ERC20 meme coin token. We don't know which one it's going to be, but we do know generally this space is building towards that. And so that's what we get really excited about. Yes, there's some silliness in NFTs and meme coins, but we do really think it's building the future of transacting on the internet. It's just on the front end and very silly today, but it's going to be very serious in the future.
I think NFT or meme coin are paving the ground for the future when data or asset or content can be wrapped on chain and file be stored. What you are doing actually will help the next evolution. I agree with you. When people said negative things about NFT or meme coin, I say, but there's always something great coming out of this craziness. Look at the internet in early days. We saw so many crazy ideas, but something great will stay and grow out of this.
Absolutely. In the internet days, one of the famous ones was pets.com was a failure, which was, you could order your pet food online. The reason it didn't work back then is because the infrastructure to support it didn't exist. The buying habit of somebody that needed to buy dog food didn't exist to do it online yet. It would take 3 to 7 days for it to end up getting there. Normally, when people need to buy their dog food, it's because they just ran out and you could buy it right away. With something like Amazon, and the reason Amazon was able to succeed where pets.com did not was books can show up whenever. It's not super important that they show up immediately. That gave Amazon the opportunity to build out this incredible infrastructure that now allows them to get you your dog food online within hours, depending on how close you are to a distribution center. What I'm saying is we need to build those distribution centers effectively, and we just need a little bit of time and more infrastructure. Every kind of cycle unlock this new behavior or create this new technology that allows us to do things that we weren't able to do back in 2017. Each one of those steps is important to ultimately get to where we're going.
Totally agree. It's a perfect transition to talk about what you consider the next major market opportunity for Pinata. Would it be AI, RWA, DePin, or gaming? Which of these do you believe is best aligned with your strategic positioning of the company?
Yeah, the way that we look at it is all of those are related. And if we zoomed out a little bit, the way that we break down the market is there's crypto, AI, and IoT. Those are the three sections. And all of that is coming together. Crypto and AI need each other. AI and IoT need each other. And IoT and crypto need each other. When you think about RWAs, how do you represent a asset that is sitting off chain? Well, you're probably going to have to, let's say it's a car. You're probably going to have data. The way you're going to get that data is through IoT, whether it's on the car or cameras scanning it. The way that you represent that is through IoT. Then you need to get it stored and referenced somewhere, and that's going to be through crypto. You're probably going to use AI to manage a lot of that data associated with it and ensuring that it is real. And then you're going to be able to trade it on crypto rails. So that's RWAs. We think RWAs is the next obvious leap forward. The end goal is all of this coming together will be synonymous with each other. And there won't be kind of that difference as we think about it today.
How would you go out to identify the opportunity and go after the market?
The way we do it today is we try to find, specifically like with RWAs, what we try to do is we try to find industries that already have data sets that are proving something is real. And then we're trying to make them more verifiable and more automated. And so uploading content, uploading files about an asset is really easy, and we can attach it on chain. And so any industry that kind of already has IoT built into it is really easy for us to go after. On the AI side of things, the way that we attack that market is just looking for areas where AI can't trust the data underneath. And there's two ways you could have issues. One is this data reliable and real to train models? And then on the other side, is this data reliable and real, or was the AI model hallucinating? And so we attack those sides of AI. We think there's a lot of opportunity there, and eventually they'll all come together, but we do attack them as separate markets right now.
For AI, the first challenge would it be to verify the data and to verify the provenance of the data before it's served, because AI can be generated in so many ways, and some of them could be fraudulent. The first thing is to screen it and then use the data.
Yeah. So the way that we think about it is in the future, we're in this post-AI world where we can't trust any amount of data that is being generated. We have to assume that it's not actually real. Our systems are not set up to solve for this yet. If you sign the data, upload it to IPFS, and then you sign it on chain, as soon as it is being generated on the device, let's keep it simple with a social media example. If you're taking a video of something that is happening, what we need to do is as that file is being generated off of your phone, we need to be signing and verifying it on chain immediately. If we do that, we can then say, hey, we have provenance from creation of the data all the way to consumption to millions of people looking at the video. We can actually prove if it was ever changed. Maybe you added an AI filter and you meant to do that. We can prove that as well. You have this auditable supply chain of the file that people can trust and rely on. That's really where we think we're going in the space. Currently, none of that is built in. And what we're trying to do is verify if something is real or not after the fact. And that is very, very difficult. You need to start at the truth of when it's happening, and every step along the way have handoffs to guarantee that the files are what they're supposed to be.
So you have to step in from the point when the content is originated on a certain device. Maybe down the road, there has to be some software that people need to download to their device in order for you to verify from that point.
And all of this is going to happen behind the scenes. But effectively, what's going to happen is we think ultimately every single device created, whether it's a phone or a server, they're going to have a wallet on them. They're going to have a crypto wallet. And then that crypto wallet is going to be signing and verifying the files as they are generated. And that is just going to be standard procedure. By doing that, you're drastically lowering the amount of attack surface of being able to come in and create a file that wasn't actually there, alter a file in a fraudulent way, whatever the situation is. We can prevent that by being able to sign these pieces of data, these files, instantly as they're generated. It'll be taken care of on device for you. You will ultimately have this system working across all your applications and all the ways that you're generating files.
You mean current wallets already have this functionality of tracking, verifying data?
You can use it that way. It's not a standard procedure. This is part of our bigger goal and vision. If we have wallets on your phone, we should be using those wallets to sign all the files being generated across all your apps. Going back to NFTs and meme coins are leading to something bigger. From a simplistic perspective, they're getting wallets installed on devices. And that is a powerful push forward that's going to enable us to do everything else. Otherwise, if we were trying to get wallets on every device by asking people to do it, they wouldn't do it. But in this way, they're like, oh, I'm having fun. I'm trading meme coins or buying NFTs or whatever. It's actually leading to an advancement in computing for fun. And I think that's pretty cool.
One of the questions I have is geographically, which regions are the top NFT meme coin development hubs? Because you work with a lot of developers and marketplaces.
Our biggest regions are the United States, and then India is a big market for us. That is where we see the most amount of activity and building NFTs or meme coins or DePin or whatever. We do see a long tail of all the other countries, but those are the biggest markets that ultimately interact with us.
Before we wrap up, I want to get your take on managing the volatility of the Web3 industry. Web3, as we know, is very volatile and unpredictable. What strategies do you use to mitigate this volatility and minimize potential negative impact on Pinata's revenue? Because the market has so much up and down. The users will be coming and going.
So I kind of think that we're, at least in this stage of the market, we're in the hit space business, kind of like music. We're trying to create the next #1 hit. From that perspective, on a demand side, what Pinata is always trying to do is ensure that we are on that next trend, whatever it is. Originally, it was ICOs, then NFTs, then, meme coins, and whatever comes next. Pinata ensures from a demand perspective that we're in front of these trends and ensuring that people know they should be using Pinata to build whatever it is. On the other side, we spend a lot of time ensuring that we are indexed across the entire crypto market instead of one kind of sliver. So you have all the different use cases, but we also are across every single blockchain. We don't have risk relative to maybe this chain isn't performing as well as it once was and that attacking us, right? So we're indexed across crypto entirely. So one chain goes down, but this other chain is having more success, we're going to be able to capture that. The final piece is our revenue is not related to the price of crypto. A lot of businesses, their revenue is directly tied to the price of crypto. Ours is based on files stored in bandwidth. That's how you pay us. It does index to the price. When people are excited in NFTs, we're probably making more money. When NFTs are down, we're probably making less, but it's less volatile than the market itself. Those are the three things that we do to ensure we have the ability to weather whatever crypto storm is coming in front of us. From a business perspective, we try to be as practical and realistic about what the market is. When it's booming and everything's great, try to be realistic about what that downturn is going to be like. And then when you're in a downturn, ensuring that you have positive spirits about what's coming next. I think crypto is one of the greatest markets in the world because of this volatility. You get to speed run. My path in my career, I've seen 3 or 4 90% pullbacks in crypto. Some people only see one in their entire career, depending on the industry. I think of it as a positive of learning a lot and learning a lot really quickly. Your ability to experience that is incredible. And something I enjoy waking up to every day.
Amazing. You're well positioned and prepared to weather future storms.
Absolutely.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle Tut, KYLETUT across any socials. Otherwise, you can check out Pinata at pinata.cloud or Pinata Cloud across socials.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I learned so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening. Your support means the world to me. Share this episode with friends and family, and don't miss out on my newsletter, worldledger.substack.com, for the latest updates. See you next time. Bye-bye.